Welcome to another Huddle Monday evening with the National Action Network. Clap yourselves up for being present. For those watching, welcome as well. In New York City, special thank you to everyone who is here because it's almost a monsoon outside and it's supposed to get worse, but you guys made your way and we appreciate you for being present. We are here for another Monday at the Harlem Commonwealth Council building, our temporary location, until we move into our official House of Justice headquarters. We're excited to release that information, but Reverend Sharpton will do that, and we will follow his lead. We're opening tonight with opening prayer and scripture from our own National Youth and College president and our office manager here at the Harlem headquarters, Minister Christian Matthew. He's going to give us scripture from the book of Psalm, and then follow it with prayer, followed by singing from our creative contributor, Daniel. Singing will lift every voice and sing, and when he comes, we ask everyone to stand, and those who may want to join him in singing with the Whosoever Will Choir, we welcome you up here. Let's clap it up for Minister Christian.
Thank you, Ashley. Our scripture today comes from the 37th Psalm, and it reads, "Fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious against the workers of iniquity, for they shall be soon cut down like grass, and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord, trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And he shall bring forth thy righteousness as the light, and thy judgment as the noonday. For rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, for evildoers shall be cut down. But those that wait upon the Lord, they shall inherit the earth." Father, we thank you for your word. We know that it is already blessed. We pray for this huddle. Thank you for everybody that has come in the midst of the storm. Father, we pray that you will bless them individually and collectively for their willingness to come out in the midst of storm. Father, we ask that you bless those that are on their way. Cover them as they are on the highways and the byways. Let them get here safely. Thank you for all of those that will tune in. Now, Father, we pray for everybody that is here. Let us have a great huddle and find all things well. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Dan. And everybody, please stand for lift every voice and sing.
Amen. All praises be to God. If anyone is singing and would like to approach where I'm at, you may do so at this time as we prepare our hearts and minds to sing prophetically the Negro National Anthem, Black National Anthem.
Rendition last week inspired you in those lifts. But all right, heard you.
has his practice.
Maybe it's Meg in the building. Maybe she encouraged that. All right, well, thank you. Let's clap Dan up for that effort. All right, so let's jump into our announcements and action alerts. I don't see Dominique, so we're going to skip over that until we get that started. But first off, we're wishing a happy birthday to Dr. Jamal Watson, our in-house scholar. Some of you hear our action alerts. He helps to write them every week, and he also helps with the convention and several other parts of the National Action Network. So happy birthday to you, Dr. Jamal. Also, happy 24th pastoral anniversary to Reverend Bartley, who is our Northeast Regional Director. A lot of you know him. Let's clap that up. We were there yesterday in Jersey. Reverend Sharpton preached for him and Lady Bartley. It was a great service. And salute always to Jimmy Bland and the New Jersey chapter, New Jersey Patterson chapter, for coming out. They were heavy in the building. Congrats to, who watched the Oscars yesterday? All right, so some of you have been with us when we were a part of the Oscars So White campaign. So it was great to see a lot of diversity at the Oscars, because I remember when it was just white and male. Let's clap that up for them. Salute to Brother Michael B. Jordan. A lot of us know him or have supported him since Fruitvale Station. Have stood with that family. He represents the Oscar grant, so it was very, very interesting to see his journey. And salute to him and Ryan Coogler and the whole Sinners cast and everyone who had historic moments last night. And her historic moments last night is Women's History Month. Happy Women's History Month to all the ladies in the building. Everyone should be clapping. Everyone came from a woman. Just look at her. All right. Dominique just came, our National Director of Membership and Special Events, and our Vice Chair of Huddle. She's going to come with our action alerts. But the last announcements I want to share is who has ever been a part of the No Kings March? No? All right, so the next No Kings March, for those who don't know, No Kings basically means that there's no kings in this. This is not a hierarchy. It's not a dictatorship, none of that. And Trump is not a king. So we are basically participating with the No Kings March on March 28th. For full information, you can visit nokings.org. Kings is K-I-N-G-S for those who have nokings.org. But we, as National Action Network, we participated with the No Kings March on the 28th. And Reverend Sharpton and our SVP, Ebony Riley, are leading that factor nationally, but individually, we will definitely be participating in New York City. All right, Dominique, are you ready? Let's clap her up as she comes. I see a few new faces. Welcome to Huddle Monday. Thank you for coming again to the storm. It's a pleasure for us to have you. And you don't bite, so we're definitely going to come and speak to you when you finish. Thank you.
Good evening, y'all. Good evening, Huddle. So I'm a little crazy because the convention is kicking my butt. I'm not going to lie to y'all. Good evening to all of our virtual viewers. But the convention is a few weeks away. How many people are registered for the convention? And for those of you watching online, we know that we are well over 8,000 pre-registrants for the convention. This is going to be insane, apparently. But it's, we're at a pivotal time in the world. I feel like, everyone is looking for, where do I fit in? What am I doing? And I feel like NAN has a very important role as we are working to really structure this action agenda. So no matter what issue you may be passionate in, we want to help formulate that action agenda of what are we doing around these policies, around these instances and issues that are affecting us, and how are we going to move forward beyond what is currently happening in the status quo, in the government, with this current administration and beyond. We have to prepare and equip ourselves for the battle, not only like externally the battle, but the battle that we internally face as individuals, just being people of color living in America today. And so it's very important that for those of you who are interested in joining us on the front lines across the country, we'll be joined by many of our chapters from across the country, from Detroit to Texas to Florida, to Michigan, to Chicago, Illinois. Our chapters are all getting ready to come to New York City for the convention. And we'll have plenary sessions and panel sessions, fireside chats. So those of you who are interested in understanding and hearing directly from the legislators and those who are literally involved in advocating for a lot of these decisions that are being made, or have the power to really push back in a way that us as advocates cannot. They will be joining us at the convention to address us, and we will have the opportunity to not only ask them questions, but to hear from them on their platform as it serves us. And if they do come to us and don't talk about things that concern us and that is going to help us, then we have that opportunity to challenge that and to challenge them. And so it is very important, this convention, and it is free, so we don't ask you to pay anything to attend. And I think that it's probably one of the most powerful convenings in the country that we do annually, because it is free and it is a lot of information that you can obtain, and that you can really, really gear up to really be involved in this fight for justice and equality. So I hope that everyone, I'm not reading the script because I am very well tuned with the convention. I've been working at National Action Network alongside my dad for the past 17 years. So a lot of people say, well, yeah, you were born into it, but I also had the opportunity to work in it from a different capacity. And so I've, seen a lot of different things happen in this movement through a lot of time and hours that I've committed to being involved. And so it is definitely personal for me, personal for my family, but also personal because I have developed a close relationship with community. And it does pain me to see that a lot of us are dealing with a lot of hardship in our communities overall. And we need help, and we need guidance, and we need to really deal with what are we doing, right? We know that we have issues, and we know that we're dealing with things, but what are we going to do to really proactively fix them? And so I'm really, really focused on what that action agenda looks like, and I hope that all of you will continue to help us to formulate that as we continue to convene and come together to discuss these issues and to work on them. So those of you register for the convention, pre-register in advance. We want to make sure that we have seats for everyone that want to attend. So if you're online watching, make sure you go to the website, nationalactionnetwork.net. For those of you who are here, you have the opportunity, of course, to sign up in person. But register yourself, register your family members, your children, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents. Register people and your families to come and experience the convention. Give them that gift, right? And let them know that National Action Network is having this convention and they're invited to, of course, join us. We talked about Bloody Sunday, the commemoration of one of the most pivotal protests and demonstrations that this country has seen in the past century. And Bloody Sunday fought and worked to get us the right to vote and so many other liberties that we, people of color, really benefit from and experience the progress of the movement today. And so on, last week, 2 weeks ago? Last week, we went to Selma, Alabama, where we participated with National Action Network in the Bloody Sunday Remembrance Weekend, and really took on this renewed significance this year as the Supreme Court considers a case that could weaken the voting power, of Black Americans and other marginalized groups. And so this legislation is very important, and so it was a very pivotal experience to have, to go to Selma to march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge, where 61 years ago, people were literally beaten because they were fighting and standing for the significant facts that Black people of color deserve to have the right to vote. And so I don't know if you've ever been to Selma, Alabama. It's not a very big place, but it is definitely, you feel like the significance, you feel the chills as you walk across the bridge, like it's kind of like the spirit of our ancestors are there, still there, and so many things. Like, it's really, really a moving experience. So I don't know if you have ever been, but you should go to experience that and take your families, because it's something that I will never ever forget. And I've been many times, but it's like every time it takes you back to that feeling. And then there is a museum that you can actually go to when you get off the Edmund Pettus Bridge. There's a museum that talks about the history of what happened on that bridge 61 years ago, and how the fight for equality, the fight for voting rights, that prolonged fight was sustained and, was fought again, of course, by people, we call them foot soldiers. So from the foot soldiers to those that we recognize in history, like John Lewis and Jesse Jackson and Martin Luther King Jr. and so many others who also walked across that bridge. It is significant, of course, to our trajectory moving forward into the future. So I hope that you will experience that one day in your lives if you have not already. And as I mentioned last week, it is important because there will be a museum about National Action Network's fights in the future, right? And you will want to be able to tell your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your great-great-grandchildren, and even as you move and transition, from this earth, and you have your descendants who will go to this museum, and we'll talk about this museum, what happened in 2026 and 2025, and what happened, and to be able to say, wow, look at my great-grandmother, look at my great-grandfather's name, they were there. They stood up for justice, they stood up for equality. I want to be on that role. I don't know about y'all, but I want to be on that role, and I want my name to be counted as one who stood up and who took action and who did not just roll over and allow things to happen to my people and to my community. I was involved. And so I know that you will want your name to also be counted as being involved. And so stay in the fight, stay involved. This is really important for us and for our future to know and to believe that we did make a difference while we were here on this earth. Clap that. Also a unity march in Michigan in response to the attack at the Temple Israel Synagogue in West Bloomfield Township, Michigan. National Action Network, our chapter there, immediately condemned the incident and called for unity. So Reverend Charles Williams, who is our Michigan chair and the pastor of the historic King Solomon Baptist Church, released an urgent statement and announced a press conference, a meeting with clergy and community activists, as well as a prayer march for peace in light of this incident. And we are going to continue to organize around this. They're organizing a call to action and a prayer march. Once details are confirmed, we will share that. But they're also planning to gather this Saturday in Michigan again, and together they want to stand united to declare that hate will not win. And so we stand with the leaders, of course, across Michigan and across the country to condemn anti-Semitism and violence and all forms of bigotry. And our message is simple. When the community is targeted, we all must rise together. And so continue to look out for updates on that as we stand with our Michigan chapter on that issue. Thank you so much for your time. I'll be back later.
Action others to share? So since I'm the director of the Youth and College Division, I'm excited because I want to focus on Youth and College Day. Youth and College Day is the last day of the convention. What's the last day of the convention? The 11th, which is a Saturday. There's no school. A lot of you are off, so you should be present. Bring the young people in your life. We start off with our ribbon cutting and opening reception with us after measuring the movement. Reverend Sharpton gives his main address, so everybody should already be present in the building. Because last year, that's when Rev kicked off the economic, basically released who was going to be boycotting, and it was a great time doing last year. And then Minister Christian, he's outside handling business. He prayed us down. He prayed Sheridan, and he made that a whole church because everybody, the spirit just started moving. So you don't want to miss the beginning of Youth and College Day. It's an open reception. We're going to be cutting. We're honoring 3 special people. We're going to release names, and Rev gives us the okay to do that. And then we're going to open up with the entrepreneurship panel. So if you know any young entrepreneurs, anybody under the age of 25 with a business, we have a pitch contest. Last year we gave away $1,000. This year we're giving away $2,000. So anybody, if you know, young people with a business, Jalen's in the building, with Spring, but you also have your own business. If you are comfortable pitching in front of an audience, you may just be awarded and walk away with $2,000 for the day. We are also, let's cut that up, let's go. We are also having a Know Your Rights workshop with our own Mauricia. She presented with Huddle before, and she'll be back in the building at the convention for that. We have a Second Chance Criminal Justice Reform workshop under our own Victor Pate, who is the head of our Second Chance Committee in New York City. They do an exceptional job with that committee. It's one of the best committees we have, so make sure you don't miss that panel. And then we'll also have a State of the Black Male Forum, which is probably one of the most exciting forums of the day. Everyone anticipates that now for the last 3 years. Our very own Usman Diallo, who's not a vet from Huddle, that was his idea, and it's one of the best forums that we have on Saturday. So we want you all to come. It's going to be action-packed, and it's very important that we're ending with Artivism, which is our fashion show and talent showcase. Brita Bree is performing. She's in the building. Let's clap her up. But it's called Artivism because it's how we combine our art and activism and flaunt our expression. Damien is modeling, a few others. Meg has been a part. Of course, Meg will be there. She's on the main stage, Keepers of the Dream, singing with the ensemble. You can also catch them every Saturday at the rally. I should be paying attention, joining us, not just on Mondays, but on Saturdays at Mother Annie's Eye at 9 a.m. All right? And we have another special addition this year. So we also have a a job fair / college fair that's going to be happening on Saturday afternoon from 12 to 4 p.m. So we're excited. It's going to be 35 vendors, but not vendors, but basically sites where you can technically literally apply if you know somebody who needs a job. That's important in this society and economy. If you know anybody who needs a job or anybody who wants to go to college, we will have on-site. Not on Saturdays, it will be at the convention on the Saturday of the convention on the 11th from 12 to 4 p.m. on site. It is absolutely free to come. Just make sure that you have your resume. We also will have a resume building panel part of that. But if you are interested in basically applying on site at these jobs and basically being hired on site, come dressed, well, presented, and have your resume on hand so that you can basically get interviewed to be hired. And that's a great incentive for young people. If you know any young or old, it's not, there's no limit, because everyone needs a job. We want you to come on out for the job fair. All right, so that ends our announcements. I also want to shout out, who was here last week? Yeah. Okay, so let's clap up Sisters in Purple, Sister Angelina. They did a great presentation about teen dating violence, which was important. She had to help some of our own members who were after the Huddle, and of course that's private, but she did a great job. And also, WARM is also an anti-domestic violence awareness group in Harlem that has worked with us, Stephanie McGraw. And I just wanted to salute Stephanie. I know they watch every week. They've just been awarded $1.4 million from Congressman Esbiat's office, which is great. A lot of us were part of Stephanie's first march from the Old House of Justice down to 125th Street right up here in the African Power Building, but she's been doing the work on and off the scene. So I just want to salute you and congratulate you, and we're definitely helping to push you forward. And thank you, Congressman SBI, for supporting those who are doing the work. Yeah. All right. Is everybody an updated member of the National Action Network? Most of y'all are, so a few newcomers. If you did not renew your membership, you can visit nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can text JUSTICE, followed by your state to 59769. Again, that's JUSTICE, JUSTICE, followed by your state, New York, to 59769. All right, I'm going to share the Black History facts, and then we're going to open up with our Did You Know segments. Tonight we have 4. We're going to be quick about it because, like I said, we don't want us to get caught in the monsoon. I see a few of our own coming to the building. Our head of our Disabilities Committee, Naomi Jones, let's clap her up as she comes, and Ernest Waters. Damien will start off tonight talking about how there's a big deficit in our economy. Black men are losing their jobs. We always talk about how over 200,000 women lost their jobs, but black men are also have lost their jobs. That will be followed by our own brother Maurice. He will be talking about Breonna Taylor. Followed by Daniel, who will be talking about police brutality in Connecticut. And last but not least, the SAVE Act. Something is happening very, very important with the SAVE Act and voting rights this week. And our own Minister Christian is going to discuss that. All right, let's clap up Damien as he comes. I'll end with the Black History facts because it's like 7 of them. And I feel like I've been talking to you. So clap.
Thank you, Sister Ashley. Good evening. Happy Huddle Monday, everybody. How's everybody doing this afternoon? Good. So the title of this article is Over 500,000 Black men have lost their jobs in just 4 months. Just 4 months. As we continue to see changes with the new administration, a quite economic crisis unfolding right in front of our very eyes. Over the last 4 months, a staggering number of black men have found themselves out of work, signaling a rapid and concerning shift in the labor market. According to the latest data provided by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, employment numbers of black men have taken a sharp sudden dive between the end of 2025 and the beginning of 2026. The statistics paint a stark picture of the current economic reality. In November 2025, 969 million black men were employed. By February 2026, that number had dropped significantly to 9,402,000. When you do the math, that represents a staggering loss of 567,000 jobs in just 4 months window. That equates to over half a million livelihoods, careers, and primary income sources erased in less than a year. The situation is equally staggering for black women who are experiencing an unemployment crisis of their own. According to the report from the Institute of Women's Policy Research, highlighted by Essence, black women lost more than 3 times as many jobs as all women across the job cuts of 2025. The statistics also reveal a disproportionate and targeted economic hit. Although black women only make up about only 14% of the workforce, they carry a massive burden representing over half of women's job losses during the most volatile employment months of 2025. These job losses heavily impacted professional and service roles spanning across vital sectors like healthcare, education, and social work. Furthermore, cutbacks at the federal level have been particularly devastating. Employment for black women in the federal roles plummeted by more than 30% compared to an 11.6% drop of all women. As Dr. Jennifer Turner, the co-author of the WPR report, noted, that it isn't just a standard economic trend, it is a systematic failure to protect the workers who keep the services and care industries that support our families running. This isn't just a talking point for economics, it is a reality that directly impacts the culture, economic stability, and the bedrock of community progress, generational wealth, and wealth building and family dynamics. When you combine the loss of over 500,000 jobs for black men in just 4 months, with black women losing jobs at 3 times the rate of other demographics, the ripple effects are felt immediately. The dual blow impacts household stability, decreases the spending power that sustains local black-owned businesses, and stalls the entrepreneurial leaps many take when they have secure financial foundations. Furthermore, the rapid decline raises serious questions about the types of industries experiencing layoffs. Last hired, first hired corporate practices, and an actual state of diversity and inclusion retention efforts across the country. As we navigate the current economic climate, the conversation needs to shift from simply acknowledging these numbers to demanding actionable solutions. This data highlighted a critical need to double down on entrepreneurial support, advocate and target loss creation, and hold both political leaders and corporate America accountable. Hundreds of thousands of jobs lost across the black community is a trend that cannot be ignored, and it is a conversation that needs to be at the forefront of every political, economic decision and discussion moving forward. So that concludes the article for this evening. And time is limited due to the weather, so if we have any comments or questions, this is your time now to approach the mic. once, twice, 3 times. Okay, well, my synopsis is we saw this coming a long time ago. When this administration was elected the second time, there was a book or a repertoire out called Project 2025, in which they listed all the things that they would like to see go on here in America, and wiping out the jobs of people of color is definitely number one. And so we must do all that we can within our communities. Whatever it is that we do in our communities, whether we're doctors, lawyers, firefighters, teachers, entrepreneurs, we must band together and uplift our communities by reinvesting in our communities, buy within our communities, support our communities, not just get out there and complain about what other people's doing, but be proactive within our own communities. So everybody have a good afternoon.
I just missed one announcement. So who knows that March is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month? Nobody? All right. Oh, you did. Naomi, you knew? Of course you knew, because you're head of the Disability Commission, so you should. I didn't know that until 2 days ago. So I wanted to share the information. Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month is observed every March to recognize people with developmental disabilities. Naomi, what are the developmental disabilities? Do you mind answering? Sorry.
People self-identify in different ways. Some identify as a cognitive thinking. There's certain diseases that are associated with it, such as some people like with different types of palsy. And yeah, people identify in different ways. Like I know some people consider autism as a cognitive on the spectrum. People on different, some people don't.
Right.
So how a person self-identifies to that individual, but basically it's mental health, behavioral health, thing that deals with mental health or your brain. And
Thank
it
you.
affects anything from your thinking to physical mechanics around.
Thank you. Let's clap her up for sharing that answer. So every March is observed to recognize people with developmental disabilities, celebrate inclusion, and spotlight the barriers that still block full participation in community life. The month traces back to a 1987, the year I was born, presidential proclamation calling the nation to increase awareness of the needs and potential of Americans with developmental disabilities. A developmental disability is a lifelong condition that can affect learning, language, mobility, or independent living. Developmental disabilities occur in every community and across all backgrounds. Here's what drives the fundamental belief that everyone deserves to write their own life story. That means real access to education, meaningful employment, quality health care, and genuine community connections. Too many barriers still stand in the way of these basic rights. This month, we're making more space for self-advocates and families to share what needs to change and what real inclusion looks like. The roots of Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month trace back to 1987 when President Ronald Reagan proclaimed March this month. This year, 2026 national theme from the National Association of Councils on Developmental Disabilities, NACDD, is We're Here, Then, Now, Always. It connects past, present, future, recognizing progress, naming what's still at risk, and reinforcing that community living and inclusion must be protected and funded. Let's clap that up, because that's important. 3 ways to take action and support is to donate to organizations where this is the main focus, volunteer and support community-based efforts in those in your community who are developmentally disabled. And last but not least is to share stories and resources using the hashtag and using this issue and spreading the word about it like we're doing today, because a lot of people don't understand what it is and don't make space for it in forum. We're going to end with a quote from Katie Nias, CEO of the ARC, which is a group who helps support this issue. Segregation and discrimination still cast an ugly shadow over the lives of millions of people with disabilities. This month we must elevate the leadership and priorities calling for true inclusion in our schools, workplaces, and communities. When we follow self-advocates, lead, and remove unfair barriers, communities get stronger for everyone. And that's a short, did you know, an announcement wrapped in one. Also, I wanted to clap it up They're currently giving out the food right now, but the head of our hospitality and who handles the food is my mom, Kathy Jones Sharp, one of the founding members of the National Action Network. She has surgery 2 weeks ago and will not sit down, but we are happy to see her back in the building, serving up the food. All right, next we have Maurice with our second Did You Know? Just clap him up as he comes.
All right, hello everybody. I'm Maurice, and my article is about Breonna Taylor. It's entitled 6 Years After Breonna Taylor's Killing, Trump Administration Quietly Gets Rid of a Law That Could Have Saved Her Life. Now, time and time again, every time Donald Trump does something or passes some kind of negative law that just seems like it's designed to smack us in the face, we have to look at the timing of it. This is just days before the 6th anniversary of Breonna Taylor's death. And he just happens to get rid of the legislation that Joe Biden passed to stop no-knock police warrants, which are completely unnecessary. Okay, now, what the law did was said that you at least have to announce police before you kick in the door. That's as common sense as it gets. I can't think of anything wrong with that particular law, but once again, because it's a law that is designed to help black people, Donald Trump just wants to rescind it. Like he's been doing with a lot of our employment laws designed to help us, like he's been doing with DEI, and let's keep it real, we're the targets, okay? Now, I can't talk about this law without talking about the circumstances that led up to the creation of this law. We were all outside in 2020 marching, partially because of the injustice that Breonna Taylor endured. Now, this was a nurse, someone who dedicated her life to helping other people, a model citizen, with her boyfriend who sat at home in a state where guns are legal with their legally owned firearm that they purchased to protect their home. Now, these were police officers who came to their house with either faulty information, no warrant, no nothing like that, at 12 in the nighttime, right? At 12 in the morning. This is not like they came in the day and were just knocking on the door here like they were coming to sell something. They came banging on these people's door, woke them up out of their sleep, 12 in the morning. Now, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend got up, asked, who is this? Who's at the door? They're still just banging like they want to break into the door. He doesn't know who this is. He thinks that it's some kind of criminal or whatever trying to come to the house, trying to invade the house. He gives them every opportunity to announce. They do not announce. Instead, one of the officers breaks the door without announcing himself. So Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, takes his lawfully owned firearm and fires a warning shot to the door, hitting the officer in the leg. Now, what do? You think at that point they would be like, well, police, get down on the floor, or announce themselves. No. One of the officers goes rogue and jumps to where Breonna Taylor's window is and just starts shooting without looking, hitting the neighbors' houses, hitting everybody's houses. They light the house up to the point where they want to kill whatever's in there, right? Now, again, President Biden, a president who's not unhinged and a president who has common sense, passed a common sense legislation, which said, in this state at least, and some other states, you can no longer barge into someone's house or knock without announcing yourself as police or break through a door without announcing yourself as police. Breonna Taylor had to die for that to pass. We had to march for that to pass. This had to become a worldwide issue for that to pass. And in 1 second, without any kind of approval or anything like that, Donald Trump's administration took it away. Now, what is the rationale for him doing this? Right? A spokesperson for the Department of Justice, Chad Gilmartin, told MS Now they're bringing back a common sense approach to law enforcement designed to ensure officer safety and protect the integrity of criminal investigations. How does announcing yourself as police ensure officers' safety? Not ensure officers' safety, right? If you don't announce yourself as police, and this is a state where people are allowed to carry firearms, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not carrying a regular 9 or something like that in one of those states. I don't know what's coming through my door. When you kick in my door, I'm gonna have an AK or something like that, and I'm gonna make sure that I take your leg off. So whoever you are, I'm sorry, I don't wanna like preach anything like that, but it's legally owned, right? You could put yourself in more danger by coming through someone's door if you don't know what that person has on the other side of the door. Now, if I hear police, before you barge into the door, then at least I know, okay, this is not someone coming in my door to kill me or my family. You're coming to search for stuff, I'm not going to fire a shot. And that's why this law right here made so much sense. And what Donald Trump is saying doesn't make sense. He canceled this law for 2 reasons. Number one, it's not him who passed it. He knows that it's common sense. He knows that President Biden passed it. And he just wants to say, well, I'm gonna just undo what Biden did. Number 2, he knows that the people who are going to be most affected by the absence of a law like this is black people. Our rights are routinely violated by law enforcement because they know that there's gonna be little to no retaliation. Typically, these types of stories don't make it onto the news. When they do something faulty with the warrant, get swept under the rug, this, that, and the third, right? So, I mean, I'm just sick of this administration. I'll keep it real with you guys, okay? We have a president that's unhinged, that shouldn't be president. Every time we stop him from doing one thing, like the Supreme Court will step in and say, okay, you can't just unilaterally issue tariffs. He jumps the gun and does something else without congressional approval, like, all right, well, let's go to war now. Like if we could see why Putin and them wanted him to be in office. It's no coincidence that our enemies were rooting to help this guy get elected, right? You had to do all this kind of stuff to interfere in our elections. He's hurting us more than any foreign threat could possibly hurt us, just with his incompetence alone. One day he messes up the tariff, he messes up and issues tariffs everywhere. The next day he's going to war costing us billions, firing missiles that cost like $1 million each, putting out ridiculous statements saying, well, the missiles will never run out, you know, we're America first. I mean, I just had enough. We have to vote, we have to vote, we have to vote, and get this guy out of office. So, I want us to one time, let's take a moment of silence for Breonna Taylor. R.I.P. Taylor, much love to her family. And then let's say her name real quick so that we don't forget. Say her name.
Breonna Taylor.
Say her name.
Breonna Taylor.
Say her name.
Breonna Taylor.
We didn't forget why we had this law, and we're gonna work on getting this guy out of here and getting the law reinstated. Now, does anybody, I know we have to wrap up fast because of the inclement weather that's coming. Does anybody have anything that they would like to say about this particular instance? No specific question, but just come up if you have something to say. You wanna speak? Come.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Yeah, I just wanted to say that also with the rise of the new Gestapo, aka ICE, that is sweeping through our neighborhoods, this is another tactic that gives them the power to be able to kick in our doors without announcing any kind of warrant, saying they're ICE, or anything that basically gives them a little bit more immunity whenever it comes to court. You know, so just want everyone to be aware of that. My name is Niles Robinson. I'm the field director for one of our local officials, Jordan Wright, our local assemblyman. We actually had a... Thank you for that. We had a Know Your Rights seminar this past Saturday at First Corinthians Baptist Church, just giving the community a little bit more information about things that they are lawfully able to do in the case of an ICE encounter or if ICE comes to your door. One of the main things that we were, or the lawyers that were at the Know Your Rights Forum were very, very much implementing and very, very much saying over and over is you don't have to answer the door. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, with this new law, this definitely makes us in this colored community, immigrant community, a little bit more of a tricky situation because now they are lawfully able to just kick your door in. So I just wanted the people to be aware of that this is low-key definitely a tactic to give ICE more power as well, and that we all have to be diligent. If you know any immigrant neighbors, you know, make sure you're checking on them. This is a real time for a community here in Harlem. So just make sure that you're looking after one another and checking in on your elderly neighbors, your immigrant neighbors, and just your neighbors in general. You know, like Brother Maurice said, we have to get this guy out of here, and one of the main ways to do that is through voting. So make sure you're participating in your local and obviously the national elections that are coming up. Thank you.
Thank you for that, brother. And before I forget, oh, you got something to say too? Come on. Before I forget, I want to give a shout out to the Second Chance Committee and all the groups that were out there advocating today. We were in Albany talking to legislators trying to get the Elder Parole Act passed and various other common sense acts passed. And we got a bunch of senators that were not signed on to support some of the acts that we were out there to get them to support. So I feel like we did our job, and I will pass it to Minister Sanders. Hear what you have to say about this.
Good evening. It's just like when our brother that got taken, Emmett Till. See, if it was one of us here today, we were back in the days, they would have had to take me too. Right along with him. Even though he was at his aunt's house visiting, we have to stand together as a people, because they're going to keep on doing it, and he's going to keep on trying to roll things back of the Lord. But they would have had to take me too, right along with Emmett Till. Because I would have got up and I would have been holding on to him as much as I could, and they would have had to take me also. You know, we have to stand up. We have to stand up. We can't keep on saying, well, the Lord says, bring your guns and take $100. Where's $100? You have to protect your own family. We have to protect ourselves. Just like they protect themselves. And he keeps on trying to think, like I was looking at a old show with slavery. It made me cry because I feel like they're still trying to do it to us. He's still trying to bring these laws back from the 40s or the 1800s and keep throwing it in our face. Just throwing it in our face and smacking us with it. But we have to stand up for each other. You know? Thank you.
Gun buyback program, is that what you were talking about? Okay. Sure, come up, Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan Buckley. I was one of the New Yorkers on the streets in 2020, protesting almost every day, and it's what led me to National Action Network and the Sharpton. So thank you for welcoming me here. The biggest threat to this country right now is Donald J. Trump, and I am still holding out hope that this country will pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act someday, which would take care of the no-knock warrants, and it would also eliminate qualified immunity for these cops all over the country, which is one of the most important things we need to do, because they cannot just do whatever they want to do and never be held accountable. So, thank you, man.
Thank you for that, Megan. Oh, you got some. Come on, brother. Oh, wait. I don't know if the mic could stretch to where you are.
I'm loud, I'll say it loud. Everybody can hear me. So my name is Brother Delroy. So the only perspective that I have on, you gave a great story regarding the young lady that unfortunately lost her life. Right? But Ms. Taylor, so what came to my mind when you were speaking about when the police is knocking on your door? So we already know that the Trump administration is putting things in place to send police to kill us. So I don't know about when an officer says, when somebody knocks on your door and they do give you notice that they are the police, yeah, I'm going to be thinking, no, y'all coming to kill me. So I'm going to be ready to do whatever I need to do. I remember the police knocking on my door talking about they doing a wellness check, but they beating the door like, boom, boom, like they coming in here like somebody is a criminal or somebody broke the law. So I'm yelling, don't be knocking on my door like that if y'all are police officers that are doing a wellness check. It's my thing gently, so I can come to the door and do whatever.
Gotcha. Brother, what did you say your name was again? So the people, Delroy. All right, so what Brother Delroy said is that even with the knock and announce, where the rule that said police have to announce themselves as police before entering your home, that he would still be worried about it because he feels like with Trump and everybody in place, the police are coming inside his house to do harm to him. And so he thinks that, I mean, even with that rule, he still would feel like he would need to defend himself and stuff like that. So the rule might not be as great as we think it is, right? But what is the opposite of that rule? Them just knocking on your door without you knowing if it's police or you knowing if it's a street thug or something like that, right? If police say the word police, that lets you know, okay, most of the time, yes, there could be like a 1% of bad police officers out there that are just coming in there to kill you, right? That could happen anywhere. There's bad people in every profession. The likelihood of that happening is less than a street thug coming in there with the mentality to kill you, right? So at least if I know it's police, I know, okay, I can take my chances not grabbing for my gun because that will get me killed. This is somebody armed and trained and waiting for me to do something that enables them to kill me. I want to survive this altercation, so I'm going to leave my gun right where it is and respond and be like, hey, you do what you got to do with your warrant and I'll fight it out in court if you do something illegal. That's why the rule still needs to be there and it still needs to be implemented because we know what ICE is going to do. They want to come in and create a confrontation with you in the first place. Half the time they're coming in there bothering regular citizens. They know that you have the right to be here and they're going to pretend that you are the antagonist. When meanwhile, they're kicking in your door without announcing themselves, without showing you any badges or anything like that. And this, taking away this law just complicates it. Like this brother right here just said, gives them a window to take advantage of the lack of laws that create rules like this, right? So I think this was a good Did You Know? Thank you guys for participating. All of you had great contributions this time. Clap yourselves up. And I'm gonna pass it back to our leader, Ashley, of Ben, sorry.
Thank you, Maurice. That was wonderful. And thank you to the person that was speaking right before Brother Maurice came up and spoke about these relevant issues. The article that I'm reading is titled Stephen Jones, Connecticut man shot 9 times by police during mental health crisis. Medical examiner rules homicide. In Hartford, Connecticut, a 55-year-old man named Stephen Jones was shot by a Hartford police officer during what officials say was a mental health crisis. According to WSFB, the state medical examiner has officially ruled his death a homicide, legally defined as death that was caused by someone else, in this case, police. The incident took place on February 27th when one of Jones's relatives called 911 asking for help. According to investigators, Jones was going through a serious mental health episode and had already hurt himself. The caller also said he had a knife. So police showed up trying to deal with the situation. Body cam footage shows officers talking to Jones and repeatedly telling him to drop the knife. At one point, they even tried using a taser, but it didn't work. The encounter lasted several minutes while officers tried to get control of things. Officers, plural, pardon me. Although Jones had not yet dropped the knife, the officers were doing everything they could to spare his life. Then, Officer Joseph Magnano arrived on the scene. According to investigators and the video obtained by WSFB, Magnano got out of his car and immediately pointed his service weapon at Jones, completely disregarding the fact that the other officers were pointing their guns toward the ground. When Jones began slowly walking towards Magnano, the officer fired 9 times, hitting Jones multiple times in the torso. Jones was rushed to St. Francis Hospital, where he later died from his injuries. The medical examiner later confirmed the cause of death was complications from gunshot wounds. Since the shooting, the officer has been placed on administrative leave, which is standard procedure while investigators look into what happened. The Connecticut Office of the Inspector General and state police are still reviewing the case to determine whether the shooting was illegally justified. Meanwhile, the community has been reacting strongly. Some residents and activists have held vigils and protests, saying this is another example of police using deadly force on someone who really needed mental health help, not harm. So right now, the investigation is still going on, and folks are waiting to see whether the officer's action will be ruled justified or if this turns into a bigger legal fight. And it's a serious concern pertaining to de-escalation, because if the police officer that arrived after the multiplicity of whoever was there representing the color of the state, in the form of their uniform or otherwise not uniform, I'm not sure if the article mentioned that, were attempting to preserve this man's life, whether they were aware of how serious his mental health issues were, reportedly, verifiably, factually, or hypothetically documented, but documented with the state of Connecticut, for example, the Department of Health, for example, which police officers may or may not have access to. De-escalation is an important thing. And the fact that the man is stated in the article to have had a weapon but not dropped a weapon is an important detail, but let alone him observing his right to hold the knife. I'm not sure how many inches it was. I'm not sure why he had the knife. I'm not sure what the body cam shows of the footage from the incident, but it seems as though, based on what the article says, the man may not have been posing an immediate threat of danger or harm to the police officers, although he did supposedly have a knife in his hand and he did not drop it. Maybe he was in fear, and he also has rights as a disabled person, so perhaps it's important for us to understand what his rights as a disabled person were and identify the fact that it seems as though emergency service was not on the scene. I'm not sure if I missed the detail, but it sounded like emergency service, mental health services, ambulance did not arrive on the scene. I'm thinking that decision to not send EMS, if in fact the police department knew that the individual, Stephen Jones, had a history of mental health issues, was a mistake on behalf of the police department, and certainly a detail not to be overlooked, because if it's true that he was just holding a knife and he was not attempting to hurt anyone, and then he got killed by the police officers who should have been continually disrupting the situation and continually intervening in the situation without causing death to this man, there seems to be a lot to discuss. This is a controversial issue. I'm not certain what the policies in Connecticut are pertaining to police indemnification and how the specifics pertaining to Stephen Jones's mental health circumstance correlates with access to his mental health information pertaining to whether or not he is considered by the state of Connecticut a disabled person with mental health issues. So if anyone wants to come up to the microphone and discuss the fact that the officer that is stated to have killed Stephen Jones by shooting him in the torso could have and should have shot him somewhere different that would not have killed him, please come to the microphone, because it seems very obvious to me that Stephen Jones, if in fact he needed to get shot, could have not been shot above the waistline. He could have been shot below the waistline, which potentially could have saved his life.
Yeah, absolutely. At least they tased him. Because this reminds me of Bernard Placide in Englewood, New Jersey, where the parents, his mother called the cops, mental health crisis, the cops came, and a cop who had a history of violence against civilians went in the house and shot him dead right there, and then ran out of the house, left the scene, and then was put on desk duty, still working in Englewood, New Jersey, no repercussions. So it reminds me of cases like that throughout the history of the United States. But the thing is, a center mass of a body is a shoot to kill shot. That is a legal, it's known. And so if you're trying to de-escalate a situation, when that man had no danger to the cops at all, there should have been a shot to the leg. There should have been a shot to the arm, to the shoulder. The fact that there were, how many shots? 11? 9 shots to the center mass of that man's body. That was a complete escalation to death. I wish there was a rule that any cop that shoots at center mass even one time and causes death should immediately go to jail for life. I just don't think it should be allowed. I think that cops would immediately stop doing that if there was a complete just escalation with their consequences, because they shoot to kill all the time, especially black people.
I received your message.
Hi, good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. I watched that video from the beginning to the very end, and all the officers that were there were trying to spare his life. You know, so many people were yelling at him, drop the knife, drop the knife. First of all, that caused him a lot of confusion. It was too many people. His sister was outside. You had about 8 or 9 officers also outside yelling, drop the knife, drop the knife. You could tell that the officers that were there did not want to harm him. The tasing did not work because they were not close enough. So when the last officer appeared, he got out of his car, and Stephen Jones started walking toward him, and this cop disregarded all the other officers that were on the scene trying to spare his life and just started shooting. What would make you come on a scene that you have 8 or 9 of your co-workers there, and they did not take his life after all of these minutes, and you get there and seconds later, he's dead. Even the other officers were looking like, oh my God, what had just happened? So I asked myself, what would I have done in that situation? To me, because the taser was not working, because it was too far away, I would have got in a patrol car, got into him, because you have the patrol car to protect you as an officer. You want to live too, we understand that. But we also have to take into account that this man was having a mental health episode. So he had a knife. So you get in a patrol car, you roll up to him slowly and say, Mr. Jones, please drop the knife, drop the knife. If he did not do so, you would have been close enough then to tase him and the taser would work. For some reason, I don't know why you have 8 or 9 police officers standing out there yelling and screaming, drop the knife. That's not working. The sister said not drop the knife. So you get somewhere where you can be protected and protect him. So that's what I would have done. Got a patrol car, pulled up slowly to him and say, Mr. Jones, drop the knife. Please drop the knife. And then if you have to tase him, at least he would have been alive.
I received that message. Thank you to both respondents. I also want to mention, I'm not sure if Connecticut Police Department does or does not use rubber bullets, but there are rubber bullets that do work to save lives. So if in fact the Connecticut Police Department is interested to save lives, it may be beneficial for the Connecticut Police Department in the future to implement usage of rubber bullets in such a circumstance, specifically, especially pertaining to mental health affected individuals. It seems as though this man was an elderly man as well. My condolences to the family. And if anyone else wants to address the microphone, now is a wonderful time to do so. I see a hand raised in the back. Will you be able to come to the front?
I'll stay in the back, but I just want to bring to the forefront as a civil rights organization that cares about civil rights. It doesn't matter if it's California, New York, Jersey, this story is too familiar. Yeah. Health, period, mental health, whatever, is criminalized. And you cannot tell me that any law enforcement does not know about mental health, psychosis, so forth and so on. Again, the first issue, you should not handle health issues with criminality. Police should not have been called, that's first. But nonetheless, there is federal federal legislation, Latoya Reed's Freedom Act, similar story, same thing. I can name a lot of local legislation here in New York, a River Sprawl, so forth and so on. All this happens all the time. So civil rights matter. People with disabilities, and mental health is a disability, it matters. And it does not happen in certain neighborhoods. And basically, you are responsible when you carry that shield of knowing what to do. And knowing this training, it's done. Money goes into this training. So that's a federal standard. But here, let's bring it locally. Like it was mentioned earlier, we were up in Albany. There's new legislation called forensic rehabilitation. As you can Google it online, it's S.8310 in the states, New York State Senate, and A.8603. Bottom line is to talk about people who are in psychosis and or maybe doing other things, and to learn more about mental health and what it really, really means. And in our community and our young people, what we need to understand is that we might not use all these fancy words like psychosis or whatever. You could just be angry and hurt and be acting out. We don't even know how he got that. If he was paranoid, maybe he picked it up because there were a whole bunch of people making him anxious and he felt scared. Maybe he picked it up that. We don't even know the circumstances. But I just really wanted to point that out, that we as a community need to understand certain languages and bring it closer to home, that we have civil rights. And we are expected to regulate our feelings without professional help, but we're not given the same courtesies and dignity, and there's a stigma around it. Because if you go to the hospital for cancer, or you go for a physical ailment, and you need help, they're going to help you, and they're not going to call the police or treat you in a certain way. But if you're of a certain demographic, or if it's a mental health issue, security, that's the first thing they do, and it's not fair. And there's lots of legislation that's gone in it, and police know better. There's training on it. Stop. You know that.
I receive that motion. Amen.
I thought it was a number for the parents or people to call, that number for them to come out. And this is my first time hearing it. I watch the news all the time, but I didn't hear this one. And what is the governor? What is she gonna do? What is she gonna do?
I received that message as well. So if those are all of the responses for the evening, I'm going to yield at this time. And I believe the microphone goes to Mr. Christian Matthew.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you to all of those that contributed to that Did You Know? And of course, we want to keep the family in prayer. And I believe Ashley told us upstairs that Reverend Sharpton will be preaching the eulogy for this service, and will be going to Connecticut to be with that family, as he has stood with many families across this country. But as they are dealing with that death, and to echo Naomi's point, mental health is a very big situation. Especially in black and brown communities. And so that is something that we here as an organization, we take serious. And just speaking about this, we want to give a shout out to the Women's Auxiliary, who actually just had a forum on last Saturday for mental health. And had a trained clinician. We didn't just have no regular person come and speak to the people. They had a trained person from New York City Health and Hospitals come and speak to us about what mental health is and what to do when you are dealing with a mental health situation. And so if you were not here for that training, hopefully we'll do it again and call back in that doctor. She did very good. So of course I just wanted to say that. But of course we're continuing to pray for this family. We're also praying for Reverend Sharpton as he will be traveling within the next couple of weeks to prepare for that service. Now, I want to conclude this evening with our Did You Know? And my Did You Know for this evening is what is happening federally. There are a lot of federal changes that are coming, but there is one in particular that is going to deal. Now, this act, if you don't know what it truly does, you will be a little confused. I was listening to a Zoom class last week with students where it was actually a mixed view on what this act is, but I don't think a lot of people understand the behind the scenes of what it can do. So the act that I'm talking about is the SAVE Act. which will make voting much harder. And it is a form, thank you, Mr. Gilchrist, of voter suppression if people want to believe it or not. And I'm going to break down specifically, because I don't think people understand the specifics of it, which is why a lot of people are more on the fence than they're not in complete agreement and they're not in complete disagreement, but there are a lot more people, even our color, black and brown, believe it or not, that agree with this act. So I don't want you to think that this is just a one-sided thing. You know, there are people that look like us, that sound like us, that act like us, that are in agreement with this. But the beginning of this article talks and says that college students don't usually think about election year until they try to register to vote away from home. And they discover that voting eligibility is not the hard part. It is the paperwork. A dorm address that does not match your driver's license, birth certificate, sitting in our parents' filing cabinet, miles and miles away from home. Anybody here went to college that was away from home? Just raise your hand. There's a couple of us in here. Okay. I went to school 300 miles away from home. So just imagine what I would have to do to vote. But on February 11th, the House passed the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. The bill would require documenting proof of U.S. citizenship to register for federal elections, and would also add new photo identification requirement for voting federally, including mail-in ballots. Federal laws have often moved in the opposite direction, especially following the Voting Act of 1965, which established the federal oversight to protect equal access to voter registration, and the voting, removing discriminatory obstacles, preventing participation at the baseline and not as a privilege. However, the SAFE Act points the other way by federalizing new front-end documentation hurdles in the name of an unsubsidized threat, calling it the SAFE Act a safeguard that they are trying to now put in place. So, what is the SAFE Act? I want to give you this complete understanding of what it is, why it is, and how it will affect voting rights. So, the SAFE Act stands for the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, as it has been proposed to be federal law, as I said, focused on voter registration requirements. So, what will the SAFE Act actually do? The SAFE Act will require documentation of your proof of citizenship. So, what will this include? This is included, but not limited to, your U.S. passport. How many people have a valid United States passport? That's good. Okay, that's good. That means you can get on a plane and fly. How many of you have a real ID? You're required to have those. So some of you don't fly that often, I guess. Okay. A certified birth certificate. How many people know where their birth certificate even is? That's a blessing. Praise the Lord. You won't have to go downtown. Certain naturalization papers for those that became naturalized citizens, and then those that have government-issued IDs, so that's everybody, which is showing your proof of address. So, what changes will this actually make? It will require proof of citizenship every time you register and re-register. So when you are registering, every time you have to show proof that you have a passport or that you have a birth certificate, and in some cases they might require that you have both of them. So they might say you need your passport, you need your birth certificate, you need a bill that goes to your house, you know, all of these things. And then they might start asking for ridiculous things, which is what they did back in the civil rights era, where they made you come up with a whole bunch of things, have to take literacy tests, how many jelly beans are in the jar, things like that will start coming back up again subliminally. They're gonna say, it's just requirement. This will also limit and almost eliminate online voting registration. How many people have registered online before? Or re-registered online? Some of you might be older than the online method, so you had to re-register. You've never re-registered online? Okay, we'll show you one day. All right. Then, this is also going to eliminate, well, really more weaken, but they're almost wanting to eliminate completely mail-in voting. Has anybody in here ever needed to mail in their vote? I did. When I was in college in 2024, I was all the way 500 miles away from home. How was I going to vote? So what did I have to do? Request the ballot to be delivered to my dorm and vote, send it in the mail. That means a lot of college students will not be able to vote. Why? Because they want to weaken or eliminate this. If somebody is sick in the hospital, at home, and they request their ballot to be sent to their house, and they can't get outside. Raising your hand?
Yes. Trump said that he's gonna mail in his ballot, so what makes him better than everybody else?
Okay, 1 second, we'll get to that in 1 second. I thought you were raising your hand for something else. All right, then this will also restrict third-party voter drives, so if there are people that are doing voting drives, making sure that they're going out to vote. Have you ever heard bus to the polls and stuff like that? That will basically become against the law if you do something like that. Third-party voter registration drives are included in the bill. And this will require in-person verification at all election offices. So no more online, no more over the phone, no more none of that. You have to be in person where I can see you. And so, now, let me tell you the two sides of this. So there are people that are agreeing. They're saying, why is this important? Because it prevents non-citizens from voting. That was one of Trump's biggest things, that they have illegal immigrants voting, and he claims that everybody's against him, and that's how they do fraud, and that's why Joe Biden won the election, because he had so many illegal people vote for him in 2020. That's what Trump said. This is real. Then he also wants to increase election trust, because he said that they took all the ballots and that they were burning ballots and doing all of this stuff. So we want to make sure that he does that. And then they want a standard of requirements across the country. Now the last part is a little iffy. Federal elections are run by the state, of course. They're run by the federal government, of course. But then their states are able to create other laws behind that. Does anybody remember in Texas when they passed a law that said you could not pass water during the election? That was during the Trump election. But, of course, there are federal laws, but then behind that, the state can add their own laws. So was it constitutional for Texas to do that? Yes. Because they are able to go behind federal law and come up with other laws. So now they're saying, so that there was just one standard of laws, this is what we want to do. And I don't know if that's going to completely eliminate that, because you know what these rogue states, they just do whatever they want to do. So now, what are the civil rights and voting right concerns that this comes with? One, about 21 million Americans. It's a little more than that. But about 21 recorded million Americans lack readily available proof of citizenship. I want to say that again. About 21 million Americans lack readily available proof of citizenship. What does that include? Your passport, or your birth certificate. The main two things that people normally need when doing things like this. They don't even include social security numbers in there because now everybody got access to that, so now that's not really, but they really do want your birth certificate and passport. So, a lot of people don't just have that. There's a lot of people don't just have that with them. Then, this is another thing. Up to 70 million women in America have changed their last name. So what does that mean? Their last name that they changed to is not going to be on the birth certificate and match the ID. I'm going to say that again, because somebody didn't hear me. 70 million women have changed their last name, which means their birth certificate and their ID will not be the same. Is there anybody here that has had that or knows somebody like that? Nobody knows?
Can they get over there by putting both names on there?
I'll get to your question in 1 second. Young people, college students do not carry their birth certificates with them while they are in college. I did not have mine. My mother had to photocopy me a copy upstate because she said, you're not taking that because if you lose it, I'm not going downtown. So, there we go. Then you have people in rural communities where they have nothing next to them at all. There is no downtown for them. So they have to travel long distances just to get citizenship. Then you also are dealing with naturalized citizenship, how that will go forth. You have Native Americans. Has anybody thought about the indigenous people? They have a different kind of ID. They do not have a regular American ID. They have something called a tribal ID. So how do you take that into consideration? They also do not have a United States passport. No, they have a passport. They don't have a United States birth certificate. So how does that go into effect? So now, the issue with this is that the SAVE Act will completely undermine automatic voter registration, and that it stops many people from doing voter drives. Everybody does voter registration drives. That is what this act is clearly trying to go against. Don Jones, the Political Action Committee, we know every summer they do on Saturday, I forgot where they do it at, but they do it somewhere on Saturdays during the summer. They do their voter registration drives. 125th. Yes, 125th. No, 135th, wherever they do it. 125th, thank you. They also do it at convention. They have a table in the resource room and do voter registration drives. We have to make sure all the college students before they leave are registered to vote. We should do that. Okay, and this will remove the online option for registering to vote. So this is a very big, important situation that we're dealing with. As you see, the numbers are very, very bad when you get into, how many millions of people don't just have access to their birth certificate or their passport. Some people might have a passport, but it might be expired. They haven't traveled out the country and don't need it. I know my great-grandmother, she does not have a passport that has not been renewed in the last 20 years. She has a passport, but it has not been renewed in the last 20 years. So is that considered proof? No, because it's expired. Others may not. They said up to 21 million people, and then there are 70 million women in this country that have changed their names. Just think of that. Change their names, and their names, the last name is no longer the same as the birth certificate, which we know a lot of women take on the last name of their husband. So they either completely get rid of their maiden name, or they add it on and hyphenate it. So are there any questions, comments, concerns about the SAVE Act? 1 second, Dan is coming. Well, go ahead, Ms. Ernest.
Yeah, if the woman takes and she gets married and she puts her name her original name is Smith, Jacqueline Smith, and she put the married guy's name on there, Johnson. So it's Smith Johnson. Does that count?
No.
According to this,
Every ID has to match the name. Every name has to be the same on every ID.
yes, so to Ms. Kathy's point, no, because every name must match specific to what your birth certificate says. So if she was born Jacqueline Smith, her ID cannot say Jacqueline Smith Johnson. It must just say Jacqueline Smith. Which was a problem even in certain jobs. That this was not that long ago. This was actually, my cousin dealt with this, and she was a teacher, and she got married, and she could not change her name in the record because she would not have gotten her pension had she changed the name, because the Department of Education, they changed from the Board of Education to the Department of Education, and so if she had changed her name, she would have never got her pension, would have never got none of that. And Ms. Kathy's agreeing because she was a city employee, so she knows what I'm talking about. Am I right?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Good. Okay, I have a witness. Come on, Dan. What do you want to say?
I definitely want to focus on the fact that there is technology available that could verify voters better than we verified voters before, if in fact surveillance is not including video, if in fact surveillance is not including palm scan, eye scan, to verify that our voters are who they say they are and they are legally eligible to vote. So I want to make sure that I make that very, very, very clear, because if the issue is that the argument pertaining to the SAVE Act potentially addresses issues of voter fraud, particularly to individuals or groups of individuals representing a particular group of individuals that are getting away with voter fraud or have attempted to get away with voter fraud and got caught, it's important that we focus on how can we have these votes verified in addition to addressing the issues pertaining to voter ballot counts being miscounted. So with respect to what I'm hearing as far as the argument for and against the SAVE Act, there are levels to security, and it seems as though we may not have reached the highest level of security pertaining to securing the integrity of our voting citizens' casted ballots. So I want to make it very, very poignant that there is room for improvement within the American voting system, but the SAVE Act is not the solution because of a lot of the quandaries that you have specified, particular to dismantling eligible voters' access to voting via mail-in vote. That is very, very, very essential for those that travel overseas, for those that do business overseas, for those that are college students out of state, for those that may experience issues getting to their polling site, if and only if the SAVE Act includes information about disenfranchising vote ability based on geographic location. And that to me is certainly something that those that are arguing against the SAVE Act should definitely focus on, in addition to alternatives to what the SAVE Act proposes, because there is technology available that can do the palm scan, that can do the eye scan, that will verify better than what it seems as though currently is in effect pertaining to surveilling the actual voting ballots. And that's not including conversation about the voting machine susceptibility to what is IT, the management information system, information technology, vulnerability, which seems to be subject matter to conversation, whether that has to do with the raid in Georgia or not. These serious concerns should be the focus of those voting to pass or not to pass HR 20, I believe that's what it is properly, HR 22, the SAVE Act. So I want to make sure I leave some room for others to speak, but I definitely want those that are listening to take into account the facts that Brother Christian had mentioned pertaining to the SAVE Act and making America aware that there are a lot of flaws in the SAFE Act. That's definitely what the Senate should be discussing at the Senate level.
And before Megan comes, I want to give you the exact place where the numbers I got came from. The Brandon Center estimates that 21.3 million voters, voting age U.S. citizens, which is more than 9% of the voting age, do not have proof of their citizenship readily available. So I'm going to say that is the Brennan Center. Okay, just in case anybody wanted to know.
And they presented on it this week, just so you know. It's a lot of information you shared, but they're presenting on it this week.
Yes, this week in the Congress.
So 3 quick points. The first is, I mentioned the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act earlier. I believe this act is a direct backlash response to our push years ago for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We were pushing for that at the same time as we were pushing for the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. We didn't get that, and I believe that they're doing this to lock into place certain strategies of theirs to prevent the John Lewis Voting Rights Act from ever coming to be. So that's my first point. My second point is, we also have some brothers and sisters in the trans community that will be greatly affected by this. Every one of them that is living as a different gender than their ID at birth will not be able to vote. And I agree with Winston Gilchrist that this is a voter suppression effort. And my third point is, I oftentimes ask, who benefits? And to your point, Winston, the white supremacist agenda benefits from this. This is a voter suppression blanket strategy all throughout the country. And the white male specifically is benefiting from this because they are not having any consequences from their IDs for the most part or from anything else that's going into this act. And so, true to form with 47 and his regime pushing again for white supremacy with horrible, horrible displays of humanity all throughout the country. So keep it up. Everyone, keep your head up.
Thank you.
I'll be quick. So with this administration, sometimes it is exactly what it looks like. The SAVE Act is nothing but a voter suppression act, right?
Yeah.
Plain and simple. So what he wants to do with it is, now this passport requirement that they want to do, what is that really doing? That's adding an extra amount of money that you would have to pay to vote. Certain people in this country are poor and can't afford the $200 fee or whatever it is to get a passport. What does that mean? Those people are going to be disenfranchised. People who have changed their name, predominantly women, who are going to vote against him because of all the nonsense that he's doing. What's going to happen to them? They're going to get to the polls. Oh, your name is not here. I'm sorry, you changed it to this. Well, this is voter fraud. We're going to kick you off the rolls. You will be disenfranchised. The less people that vote, the better chance this president has to win. Sometimes, the stuff that he does that doesn't make any sense, the real reason behind it is that he wants to do something nefarious. You want to disenfranchise people? Well, let's make up a reason for why we need to say that. We need to prevent illegal immigrants from voting. You know how bad and how dumb that is? Illegal immigrants do not vote. You know why? Because if they went to try and vote, they would have to answer questions like, well, give us the address that you have. Well, we don't see you on here. You can't vote. You're an illegal immigrant. You don't want people to know where you're residing if you're an illegal immigrant. So you trying to vote doesn't make any sense. This is not a problem that's real. It's a problem that he's manufacturing to try and produce legislation. All right, so let's do the right thing and let's exercise the rights that he's trying so hard to fight against us exercising. Here you go, Mr.
Maurice made a great point. Passports are expensive. Passports are expensive.
It happened to me last November. I got to the airport and the young lady was like, "You don't have a real ID." I said, "Why?" Because the man in the White House So she didn't say nothing. And you gotta have the star on it when you get your ID. I knew before this happened to me. I knew I was supposed to get it done, but it wasn't done. And they know it's supposed to be done. But they don't say nothing. I know I'm gonna get it done.
Yes, Ms.
I just want to ask a question, because I know things change every day. But if you have a passport and you have a state ID, you can still fly, right?
Yes, yes. So if you have a passport and you don't have the real ID, you can still fly as of now. But they have been trying to change that because they want everybody to get the real ID for whatever reason
With
they
the
want.
star on it.
With the star or the American flag.
And just to let you know that you have to get your real ID, they will give you a piece of paper
Yes.
showing where you gotta get your real ID. But they still let you fly.
So you gotta pay for another
Okay, come on.
Yes, ma'am.
You gotta get your real ID.
About 3 weeks ago, I gave a class on passports. And I had the manager from the passport agency on Hudson Street to come and speak. It was a huge success because even if you have your passport, a lot of the rules have changed. And for the cost of a passport now is $165. If you want to expedite it with the $60, it's $225. But if Ashley would like to do that, I could have him come here and give a class on it, because even if you have the passport, there are a lot of rules that have changed, especially with what's going on. And they also bought a lot of swag. They bought passport covers so that nobody could steal your identification. So it was a really good class, and I would love to do the same thing for the Huddle. Also, I go to DC a lot, and I'll be going at the end of the month if anybody want to go with me. You don't have to pay for your Amtrak, and your food is covered, and we'll be fighting for the 14th Amendment and the SAVE Act, if anybody want to accomplish me on April 1st.
Thank you. So in conclusion, to everybody's point, everybody should stay abreast on what is happening, because this is happening this week. That Congress is going to be voting and talking and discussing, I got you in 1 second, on this act. But of course, this is going to affect millions of people across this country. And also to the point that they brought up financially, this will also be a hardship if you don't already have the things that they are telling you to have, because the passport is expensive. And then there is the difference between a passport and a passport card, which not a lot of people know that there are two different things. And so when I had to get my passport renewed, I said, let me get the passport card with that, and that was another $30-something. So that if you don't know, and it's just a little card, it's like a little ID. I'll show you I carry it everywhere I go, just in case ICE try to say anything to me. I got my passport card with me, but it's like a little ID, and you can fly with it, you can get on cruise boats with it, but you can't go international with it, as somebody had previously mentioned. The rules have changed. So don't try to do things without knowing. Mr. Gilchrist, your point?
Yes. I suspect they're going to try to cancel the filibuster rule in order to pass this legislation.
Probably.
What do you think their chances are? Because if they pass this legislation, we're in deep trouble.
Yes, we definitely are. The issue, one thing that the Republicans don't have going for them too much is that there's a lot of infighting among them at this current moment. So that is saving us time, because a lot of people, their districts will also be affected by this.
Yeah.
And this is an election year when the Republicans are now shaking in their boots, where even the president said, if y'all don't vote for me in November, I'm going to be impeached. And if the president himself has to humble himself on national television, you know that there is a problem. This is what a passport card looks like. If anybody, you can see it from here. You can't see my information, thank the Lord. But this is what a card looks like, okay? So if you need to get your passport or anything, make sure you do it as soon as possible, and that you are prepared for the nonsense that these people are trying to bring. All right? All right, Ashley's coming to close. Good night.
Don't go too far, Chris. So there are 2 questions online for you in regards to volunteer orientations. I don't know if you want to share it on there, but you can answer them. 2 people are in the chat asking.
Okay. Well, convention. How many days away are we from the convention? 3, I said days, not weeks. How many days? 23. We are 23 days away from the convention. Y'all clap that up. 35 years. We have selected this year is so much going on. Volunteers have been selected. We put that out. We told everybody we thank you for wanting to volunteer, but because there is so much going on, not everybody can volunteer. And so we have a limited amount of folks, and so you will receive a call this week. Those that are volunteering will receive the information. If you don't get it. And you can't just show up to the training, because I know who the folks are and I know who everybody is that we chose. So again, thank you for wanting to volunteer. You will receive a call this week from Goldie. Goldie will call you, not me. Goldie will call you this week. And so you look for a call from Goldie. All right, thank you.
Anyone heard that online? So no badgering, no bothering on the radio show, on the comments. Cannot bully, no bullying us to give our information that we don't have, or using personal numbers. Right, all right? Because I'm on the recipient end, and I'm like, what is happening? It's nothing to do with me. All right, we're going to close out the Black History Fact. It's 5 pages, so I need help. We're going to skim it, and then we're going to close out. Christian, don't go too far, because you're going to close out in prayer, brother. You should make it about face, thank you. I'm going to put y'all on the spot. I need you, Maurice, I need Brother Niles, and I need Jalen to come help me read these real fast. So March 15th, Black History Fact. In 1821, the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church is officially formed in New York City. However, the church had been actually operating since 1796. Who knows why is that important as far as we'll be meeting AME Zion Church? Where do we meet now for the House of Justice?
Mother Church.
Mother AME Zion, right? A decision to officially separate from the white-controlled Methodist Church was reached in 1820. The dispute centered in part around the refusal of whites to allow black ministers to preach. Among the founders were James Varnick, Abraham Thompson, and June Scott. Today, the denomination has an estimated 1.2 million members and operates Livingstone College in Salisbury, North Carolina. March 15, 1933, legendary music composer and producer Quincy Jones was born on this day in Chicago. And in 1977, one of the unsung heroines of the civil rights movement, Fannie Lou Hamer, died on that day. Hamer was the youngest of 20 children. Born in Roeville, Mississippi, she became active in voter registration and later became Mississippi Field Director for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee known as SNCC, as well as head of the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. She also coined the phrase, "I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired." All right, Maurice?
All right. 1827. The first black owned and upper newspaper in America begins publishing. It was Freedom's Journal. It published weekly in New York City from 1827 to 1829. Editors John Russell and Samuel Cornish declared as their mission, "We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us." Here's the part that's crossed off here.
Yeah.
Okay. 1999, Maurice Ashley, a Jamaican immigrant living in Brooklyn, becomes the first black grandmaster in modern chess history. Here's his picture. I don't know if you can see it. Okay. March 18th, 1933, the first black woman elected mayor of Mississippi town, Unita Blackwell, was born on this day in Louis, Miss. The former field worker with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee became mayor of Marysville, Mississippi in 1977. And that is it. That's our Black History Fact.
Hello, people. History fact, 1963, singer-actress Vanessa Williams was born on this day in Millwood, New York in 1983. Williams became the first African-American woman to win the title of Miss America in 1984. Williams was forced to resign a few weeks prior to the end of her reign on July 22nd, 1984, due to a scandal surrounding the publication of unauthorized nude photographs in Penthouse magazine. In 2015, 32 years after being crowned and during the Miss America 2016 pageant, where she was serving as head judge, Miss America CEO Sam Haskell apologized to Williams for what was said to her during the events of 1984.
Mumbling.
And these is
That's
it cuts off, but the next fact is 1970 actress and rapper Queen Latifah. Look it on the back. That's all. She was born this day, on this day in 1970. Okay.
Okay. My Black History fact is for March 19th, 1620. The first black child born in America, William Tucker, was probably born on this date in Jamestown, Virginia. However, some controversy surrounds the exact date. What we know for sure is that he was the son of two of the first Africans brought to America as indentured servants in August 1619, Anthony Antonio and Isabella. Our second fact is, in 1919, singer Nat King Cole is born in Montgomery, Alabama. In addition to his considerable talents as a singer, Cole, the father of Natalia Cole, was the first black American performer with his own syndicated radio program and later a national television variety show. Thank you.
Let's clap them up because I put them on the spot. It's important that you know your Black history because we're going to know where we're going. We gotta know where we've been. If anybody if anyone would like to volunteer and send in, like Dan, send in any Black history facts or any Did You Know articles, you can email nan@youthhuddle@gmail.com, and we will welcome you to submit and to present. And we're gonna take you up on your offer, Ms. Fennell. We would definitely love to have a presentation, and we definitely would love to sign up to go with you. All right, let's close this out. Everyone please stand as Mr. Christian prays us out.
Thank you. Also, let's give a big hand to Ashley and Dominique. They've been leading rehearsals here for the fashion show. For convention, make sure that you register. We have over thousands of people, over 8,000 people have pre-registered, which has never happened in NAN history. So that is very good. We are making history this year. And so, yes, ma'am?
And we have food that some of
Oh.
y'all.
We have food left. You heard Ms. Kathy Jordan Sharper. And they're already packed. Please take the food to go. All right, let us pray. Father, we thank you for this time and that you have brought us here. Father, we ask that as we leave this place, never from your sight and your presence, that, Father, you will cover us on the highways and the byways. Lord, hold up this storm until each of us make it back to our home safe and sound. And we pray all of this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.